Range and price. These are by far, I think, the specs that the vast majority of people are interested in about the Cybertruck. I love any piece of news surrounding it. I want to know about the nitty-gritty details, the door buttons, the suspension, the tailgate ramp. I'll take anything, but anytime I talk Cybertruck rumors, range and price come up the most, which is why I'm excited in today's video to tell you that while we don't have official confirmation yet, and we might never have official numbers because Tesla's always changing things behind the scenes, there are actually some pretty recent rumors surrounding Cybertruck price and range, and because we're getting so close to that alleged delivery event, I feel like these rumored specs hold a little bit more weight than they may have previously. So first off, Bearded Tesla, who I consider to be a somewhat reliable source in the Tesla community, has said that he has 3 separate insiders at Tesla all telling him that the first generation launch edition Cybertruck is going to debut with 350 miles of range, which, if you didn't believe all of my predictions in the past, you would be pretty disappointed by that fact. Most people were hoping that Tesla would start out with a 500 mile range Cybertruck, or at least a 420.69 mile range Cybertruck, right? But what I've been speculating on for years is that the energy density, of course, of the 4680 cells is not exactly where Tesla hoped it would be, and because the demand for the Cybertruck is so insanely high, they're not going to have any problem selling trucks even if they start out with a lower range figure. So my prediction is that for manufacturing efficiency, which is something Tesla really loves, they were going to be using the exact same 4680 cells that they put in the all-wheel drive Model Y, but then just kind of double up on the number of cells for the Cybertruck because it is a much larger vehicle and people are going to have somewhat of a higher expectation for range compared to the standard range Model Y. So I hate to say I told you so, and it's possible that this rumor is not true, but I've been suggesting that the first generation Cybertruck would have something like a little over 300 mile range for several years at this point, simply because, while yes, it's probably possible for Tesla to increase the energy density of 4680 cells, I don't think it's cost effective yet, and because the Cybertruck demand is so high, it probably just makes sense for them to start off with the lower range option. That way, I think a lot of people who are just diehard Cybertruck fans are going to buy that one regardless, and then Tesla will instantly have another sale down the road because those same people who buy the first generation Cybertruck are also going to be saying, yeah, I like it, but once the tri-motor comes out with a 500 mile range, I'm definitely going to buy that one. So Tesla kind of gets a 2-for-1 deal at that point. Either those old Cybertruck buyers are going to sell off their launch edition Cybertrucks or trade them in back to Tesla and pay that premium so that they can get the same truck again whenever the 4680 cells are being built at a caliber where the energy density is high enough. But personally, I think that might actually be a bit longer than people expect. I don't think they're going to launch with multiple range options. I could be wrong. That's all speculation on my part. But I think Tesla truly loves manufacturing simplicity, and what's more simple than having, one exterior color choice, the steel, one powertrain option, which I think is most likely to be the dual motor. Yes, Elon made some claims about quad motor in the past, but more recent conversations Matthew DR has had with Tesla executives has pointed to the idea that that might not end up happening, and Rivian has kind of proven to us that when you do quad motor on a pickup truck, you get pretty bad efficiency, and if 4680 cells aren't that energy dense yet, you probably don't want to be eating into efficiency too much in the early days, and even the Tesla Semi was able to get by with just 3 motors, even though they originally said it would ship with 4. For the sake of being efficient and having decent range on your launch edition product, I think dual motor is going to be a great place to start as well when it comes to profitability, and that of course ties into affordability. So let's talk price. What most people are excited about is a tweet Elon made somewhat recently about the $10,000 price cut on the F-150 Lightning series. Now, I think way too many people out there think this is purely because Tesla just made a post about how the first Cybertruck at Giga Texas has been built. I still have a lot of questions about that. Like, is it still a hand-built model, or is this a production-grade Cybertruck? Technically, they didn't use the word production Cybertruck in the tweet, but others are saying, yeah, it technically is production, and it still hasn't been officially tested by the EPA, so I think there's still a little bit of a prototype aspect to that. But a lot of people just think, oh, well, F-150 Lightning had to cut prices simply because of that tweet. Whereas if you follow F-150 Lightning, like production and delivery numbers, you'll know that Lightnings have been kind of piling up at dealerships for a while. And Ford's CEO is saying that because they've opened up more production lines for the F-150 Lightning, they've been able to increase availability, which is why they're able to bring the prices back down closer to what they were when the Lightning first came out. So Tesla's been cutting prices as they expand production, and now Ford's cutting prices. So I don't think they're necessarily exclusive, but Elon made this tweet tweet saying that the F-150 Lightning is a pretty great truck, but the only issue with it is that it's too expensive. And in classic Elon fashion, he made everything incredibly vague, which means it's perfect for everybody to assume the best or the worst, because now, obviously, you can get an F-150 Lightning Pro for about $50,000, and we have an official statement from Elon claiming that the Lightning is too expensive. So that means Cybertruck confirmed to be $40,000, right? No, I don't personally think it's that simple, but while I may have been right about the range numbers over the past few years, about Tesla starting out with the lower mid-range tier, this is something that I could end up being wrong about, and for the record, I would be so happy if I end up being wrong. I would love it if the launch edition Cybertruck started at $50,000, but I do think people are assuming a little bit too much with this rumored pricing, and there's also a bit of a painful truth that I want to remind people when it comes to Elon tweeting on things, because in the past, as someone who follows Tesla prices very, very closely and also analyzes and makes a ton of videos based on Elon tweets, what I've learned following Tesla is that what Elon tweets is very rarely sacred and verifiable when it comes to what the Tesla company actually does. Like, I was following the Model Y updates for a long time, and originally Elon said that they would not have a EV with a range below 250 miles, and then while Elon was busy doing stuff at SpaceX, Tesla ended up launching a standard range Model Y with range below 250 miles. Then about a month later, he comes back to the company, probably finds out that they offered that option, he doesn't like it, so they get rid of it, and people go, "Hey, Elon, what happened to the rear-wheel drive Model Y so many of us wanted?" And his response was, well, the range was too low, but we're going to make a long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y that offers even better range than the all-wheel drive long range. And a lot of people still had deposits and reservations for that long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y, so they were like, cool, Elon said that they're going to make that trim later. There were rumors going around that they were going to make it, so people were just holding out hope and saying, yes, there's going to be a 350-mile range Model Y that'll be rear-wheel drive. That sounds amazingly efficient. I love the long range. I love the fast charging. I'm going to wait around for that. And we waited because of those tweets, and then it never actually happened. And there were, of course, tweets where Elon said that they're just making the Model S and X for nostalgic reasons, and that there's not really a big refresh happening. And then around the corner, then they ended up doing a big refresh. So what I'm trying to say is Elon is a very busy guy working on Twitter, working on SpaceX, working on Neuralink, and now working on XAI. And Tesla, out of all the companies he's working on, is the biggest. There's a board, there's a pricing team, there's a marketing team, and now Tesla's even spending money on advertising, which Elon used to boast about how they never did. So my point is that the company is quite big, and I don't think Elon is the end-all deciding factor when it comes to Cybertruck pricing. He may make some claims about how the Lightning is a bit too expensive, but that does not necessarily mean that he knows exactly what the Tesla team is going to price the Cybertruck at. Because Elon Musk is an engineer first and foremost, I interpreted his tweet as saying that the F-150 Lightning is too expensive to build. You know, Tesla fluctuates their pricing all the time based on market demand and how many people are interested in a product or what incentives are available at the time of offering, and they will adjust pricing accordingly all the time. So my guess is that Elon is alluding to the idea that the Cybertruck is substantially cheaper to build than the F-150 Lightning, but I don't think that necessarily correlates to what Tesla is going to charge for it. And yes, I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate here because I think it's really, really easy to get carried away and excited with this tweet and just assume, oh, okay, that means Cybertruck's gonna be 50 grand, and a lot of people compare the unveiling Cybertruck prices to, oh, well, at that same time, this is what the Model Y and Model 3 cost. So what Tesla was saying is that they expect the Cybertruck to cost the same as a Model 3 or Y. I also think that's a dangerous precedent because when they unveiled the Cybertruck, they were talking about pricing that they expect in 2021. Who knows what Tesla was internally targeting for the Model 3 and Y to cost by 2021. And then, of course, that ended up not happening with all the lockdowns and all the inflation and the supply chain drama. I mean, we have records of Elon saying that they thought the Model 3 would get down to like sub $30,000 before incentives, and of course that didn't end up happening. And just what I want to remind people, the only reason we're seeing price cuts across Tesla's lineup is because supply has caught up with demand, is because these factories have been mass producing vehicles and are catching up to the amount of demand there is for them. So that's when prices come down. Cybertruck doesn't have that same luxury. It's very, very early in its production stage, which means there's not going to be a lot of them available from the beginning, which means Tesla can basically charge whatever they want, and there will be a small enough group of people that just want the Cybertruck as fast as possible, so they will pay $90,000, $100,000, and a lot of people might quote tweet Elon's reply about the Lightning prices and go, hey Elon, what did you mean about that? Same thing happens with full self-driving all the time, where where Elon was like, actually, Smart Summon should be available in a couple weeks, and then like 6-7 months go by and it's still not available. So don't treat Elon tweets as sacred, even though yes, he is a high up executive at the company. I don't think this tweet necessarily guarantees that the Cybertruck is going to undercut the F-150 Lightning, at least at launch. Personally, I think way too many people get excited about the launch price, because keep in mind, Tesla adjusts pricing accordingly based on supply and demand. So we may get all excited about what's the Cybertruck going to debut at, what's the starting price going to be, what is it going to launch with, and then they might start with a really high price that upsets a ton of people, but they could change the price after like a month of deliveries beginning, and they could change it again on the second month and again on the third month, just based on how many people want the Cybertruck. Like when they refreshed the Model S with the new interior and everything, it started at 80,000, and then there was so much demand for it, they raised it to 85, then 90, then 95, then like over $100,000 just because there was so much interest in it, and they realized, yeah, we can get away with this, even though they technically said on the record that the refreshed Model S was cheaper to build than the Raven 2020 Model S. So just because something is cheaper for Tesla to build does not necessarily mean they're going to pass those savings on to the end consumer. So I don't expect the Cybertruck to be any different, but I would love to be proven wrong. I would love it if they just decided, you know what, we just want people to know that the Cybertruck is affordable and great, and we don't care about the profit margins on the launch edition models, so we're just going to take the hit and charge a low price for it that's in line with Model Y and Model 3 pricing. Let's say I'm wrong and that's the case, and the dual motor 300 mile range Cybertruck starts at $60,000 or $70,000, and a lot of people are now able to afford it. Okay, if that's the case, then don't expect the cancellation rate for the reservations to be very high. So the good news is, yay, okay, the Cybertruck's pretty cheap. The bad news is now everybody's going to want one, and we're probably going to have very few people cancel their reservations. In fact, even a lot of people that want the 500 mile range Cybertruck will probably still buy this one to hold them over until the higher range option is available, which means you're going to have to wait a long time, because if we hit like a 50% cancellation rate with the Cybertruck, that's talking like 600,000 units, 700,000 units that people are actually willing to line up and pay for, and Tesla's not going to be able to build 600 to 700,000 units within the first 2 or 3 years of production. And that's what I'm trying to say, like within 2 or 3 years of production, pricing can fluctuate and change so much. So again, I don't think people should get so hyped and so obsessed with the launch edition price, because that is absolutely subject to change, just like all of Tesla's prices. And if they do decide to keep it low, then you're going to have a lot of people flipping these trucks, charging a premium for them. So even if Tesla doesn't expect you to pay $100,000 for the Cybertruck, if you want to get one within the next year or so, you might have to shell out $90,000 to $100,000 to buy one secondhand, so that you don't have to wait in line for years and years. There is just so much demand for this vehicle, so much public interest in it, that personally I don't expect Tesla to just say, yeah, let's just keep it cheap so that everybody's happy. All that really does is encourage the first buyers, the first people who take delivery, to charge a massive premium, because they know that, well, someone's gonna pay me $100,000 for this truck, and while the Cybertruck is cool, I'd rather have $100,000 and then use that money to buy a higher range Cybertruck in the future. Creates a lot of scalping issues if you just intentionally keep prices low. That's why Ford was like making people sign contracts preventing them from reselling their F-150 Lightning with the first year of deliveries. But on top of that, we are getting more leaks every single day. The other bad news that I guess I should report is we got some more angles of the Cybertruck castings, and we are clearly seeing that a midgate is likely not possible with this current design implementation. There's some little holes on the backrests of the second row, but most people think that's just for wiring or maybe HVAC to the vault, but definitely no area for a midgate. I think just because they need an area for the vault cover to be stored, and there wasn't really a better place to wrap up that vault inside the pickup truck. Couldn't really put it under the second row because there's too many battery packs and storage space underneath those seats, and that's pretty much the only place a midgate could have worked. Also, GM has some patents on how a midgate is installed. Maybe there was a way Tesla could circumvent those patents, but with that complicated vault cover, I guess it's not happening. And Tesla themselves has even been testing and posting about it on Twitter, the new updated Cybertruck seats. So they're running them through their courses and trying to find where they're going to wear out. And we can tell that they're ventilated, but at the same time, also they don't have lumbar support on the passenger side. You get these little angular, sharp seat adjustments on the side of Teslas. It's not your typical design, but yeah, it's great to see that the seats are now also in production and that they will probably be ventilated, which is awesome. But overall, what do you guys think of the Cybertruck rumored price and range figures? Do you think they're wrong? What are your expectations? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below. below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.